All will be well.
Well, it's Friday.
Happy,
It's
happy Friday
unmuted.
too.
Yes. Um, Welcome to Unmuted, everyone. Happy Friday. I'm Paige, your host. We're here today to talk about all things Matila.
Oh my goodness. Hey, how are you? Happy Friday. Happy holiday Friday
I
too.
know, I
Whatever
know.
it
I
is you're
can't believe it is
celebrating.
so close to the holidays. It's already the 19th today. Time has really, like this whole year, and I'm frankly okay with it, has really flown by.
I think a
Um,
lot of us are okay with it.
yeah, yeah. Um, but before we dive in, just to share a little bit about Unmuted for folks, if this is your first time joining, um, Unmuted is a platform I created for female leaders. I've met some pretty amazing ladies around the world over my 18 years of doing social impact work. Some pretty amazing folks doing really incredible things in their communities. And we often don't get to chat with them or hear them. We hear the famous people who get invited to conferences to speak or be and all these live global stages, and other folks are in their communities doing really hard work, and we don't get to see them unless you live in that place or space. So I love lifting up different voices, and we've had so many different folks. We had Jessica DeVito on recently, who's a fundraising professional. We have Matila today, who, well, you are many things, but you're a human service leader. And you're local to Baltimore City, where I'm located as well, which is super exciting. And we've had a lot of different people on, so some marketing professionals, and I'm excited for 2026 too. We have a lot of different types of folks joining us through social impact work, but in different sectors of the work, which is super exciting. Before we jump in, I also want to give a shout out to my friend Saeed. Saeed, perfect timing. You just jumped in the chat. Um, he's an amazing facilitator. He likes to call himself a facilitator, which I love. But he created this amazing swag. So sweatshirts, bags, cups, mugs, and I couldn't help myself from buying some. And I'm wearing it today. It's not dress down Friday at Paige's office. I'm wearing a sweatshirt intentionally today. Um, so I just want to show it off. I got the one. He has different sayings on them. Can you see that, Matila? So
Yes, and I love it too.
it's
Sounds a lot like
really,
my life.
yeah, it's really good quality. I got the kind of like rose color, really good quality sweatshirt. Even the hood, it's a nice one. It's important to me. And I got a bag, so I want to show that off too. I got the one that says "This is the safe space."
Love it. Love
Um,
it.
and they come like the bands straps come in different colors, and it's really durable. I actually used it yesterday for the first time, and it has an awesome pocket inside.
Oh my
So
goodness. And the design continues onto the pocket. Look at that, y'all. All
it's
right
really good
now.
quality. And I bought these as some gifts for folks. So I know like shipping might be bad this time of year, but mine came really quick a few weeks ago. Just
No,
want
I
to put it
definitely think it's worth it. For those who are not in the Baltimore City area, we actually have a plastic bag ordinance ban.
out.
So
Ooh,
we don't necessarily have individuals kind of giving out plastic bags in grocery stores
yeah.
and things like that. And you have to purchase individual paper bags. So, folks, I mean, if you love to be
Shopping.
green, walk around with your totes and things, that sounds like that's a really good buy. So,
Yeah. And for me, like facilitating workshops and retreats and trainings, I have a facilitator bag, but I'm always like the straps are going to break or it's not the right size or it's just one big hole of a bag. This has a nice little pocket. It's really durable. So, yes, you did a rocking job on this. Thank you. Appreciate it. I know selfishly I'm like, I love my bag. Y'all should buy one. And my sweatshirt. And my friends love them as gifts. So thank you so much. Um, and put in the chat where you're joining from, by the way. I always love that's like so much fun to see where people are joining from. We had someone from France, from Canada, California, Ohio, all over the place. So that's always lots of fun. Um, and let's dive into you, Matila. How have you been?
I've been so well. I hope that you have been too. Um,
Been a busy
Also
year.
wanting to lift up that it has been a trying time and a trying season for a lot of individuals. So sending hope and light if that is one of you. But I have been doing well. Thank you so much for asking.
Yeah, yeah. I guess I should share with folks also, Matila and I met years ago. I don't even know when, a long time ago. And I was lucky enough to have her as one of my first interns. I mean, she was well in her career, but pursuing other, academic pursuits, which is, always inspiring. And so I had her as an intern. It was just such an amazing experience. Um, so that is how we met. I was like so lucky to be able to work with you, Matila. And I still work with that program. I actually just went back and did a presentation, and I pray that I'm lucky enough to have another amazing intern like yourself. It was
Oh
it was
my
such a great
goodness.
experience, and I've loved staying in touch. We don't talk as often as I think we both would love to, but I
Well,
always love.
we're moving and shaking, right? I
Exactly.
joke with my husband. I met you BC, kind of before COVID,
Before COVID.
right?
Yeah,
So it does seem like millennia ago,
I know.
unfortunately. But even though we don't get to connect too often, I thank you so much for thinking of me. And I'm always following you, whether that be on LinkedIn or any of the other platforms. I mean, the resources you provide, the newsletters, your website. I mean, just even on my journey as an executive director, you don't know how many resources I've utilized since we have been out of close proximity. So it's
Yeah.
good to get connected again. Absolutely.
Oh, that's so good to hear too. Well, why don't you share a little bit about yourself?
Oh
I
my
know you
gosh.
pretty well, but tell everybody else about you.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, where should I begin? Right? Usually you get the question, what do you do? Right? Um, I guess I do many things. I'll start with the place or the orientation that I come from. I am the daughter of immigrants. My father was from West Africa. He immigrated to the United States when he was a young man, to New York City to be exact. My mother's family is from Puerto Rico, even though, yes, Puerto Rico is a part of the United States, it is a commonwealth. We have generation of families coming from the island prior to its colonization by the United States and other countries. So, to me, because of the cultural orientation, my mother's family and I also consider that we went on an immigration journey. My grandfather came to the United States with a third grade education and in the middle of winter with no coat. As you can imagine, the climate was very, very different from where he was coming from. So I think that informs my story. I am the third person to graduate with a graduate degree in my family, the first person to run systems like nonprofits and things like that. So that I think that also informs where I come from. I'm a city girl. I was raised in New York City, so I think that also informs what I do. But I think professionally, I would consider myself a champion for community well-being. I do a lot of advocacy work, a lot of systems development work and leadership change around trying to reinforce structures of healing, not only from a client service delivery perspective, but also from a staffing perspective. Really trying to orient more traditional systems like org charts, logic models, and things to really respect that feedback of trust and that loop of collaboration that is required in to really make services trauma reformed and trauma responsive. And I think at the core, I try to stay full of hope and full of action and try to believe in the goodness of us all. So I think that'll sum it up in a little bit, right?
How we get along so well. We're kindred spirits in that.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. I always felt that from you. Just such a light of positivity. Um,
Oh,
yeah. Yeah. And when I met you, you were at a different organization.
Yes, yes. I was working on child maltreatment and prevention issues.
That's
So
right.
I think just to back it up, I started my career actually thinking I was going to go into the Foreign Service.
Oh, wow.
I went to the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, and I studied African studies and U.S. history with the intention of taking the diplomat's test and trying to enter into the Foreign Service. Like that was my dream. But then I
Mhm,
became pregnant,
mhm,
and my child was born very sick and very early.
mhm,
So that kind of altered a lot of plans for me. And I really tried to think about, in essence, who I was and how that can translate into what I wanted to do. My mom is a nurse, and my aunt is a teacher. All of us kind of have entered into service in various respects. So I kind of started as a preschool teacher. I needed childcare. I needed to feel safe and comfortable where my child was, considering his issues. So I started as a Head Start teacher. Fell in love with the model so much, became a mentor teacher, and then started leading programs. But decided that maybe it was time to do something a little bit different. Head Start emphasizes the whole child, and I just felt like there were a lot of systems that were competing with families being and optimizing themselves to
mhm,
their best.
mhm,
So I decided to go into parent education because I thought like, oh, I can use some of the things that I knew about child development and classroom management and helping develop service plans for families and kind of apply that to mandated clients I was working with that were interfacing with systems like the Department of Social Services. And that's where Paige met me. I was doing a lot of child maltreatment prevention work. I was working a lot around issues with Maryland and its disproportionate involvement of Black and Brown children in the foster care system. This was maybe around 2015 or 16 or so. The data just started bearing out a interesting trend, especially around substance use, and just the removal of children in the system,
mhm,
and really trying to find a way to balance the safety of children, but also promoting reunification, which is always the goal in foster care systems when it's appropriate and available. And yeah, we were doing parent education. We were working with a lot of stakeholders that were interested in bringing parent education to schools, hospitals, other facilities, and working on this concept around trauma informed care as the information around adverse childhood experiences
mhm,
and all of the work that Dr. Anda and Dr. Folletti were doing around this link between childhood trauma and adverse community health outcomes.
mhm.
So, yeah, I think that is where I got inspired to continue my education because, um, irrespective of a lot of the ways that our culture appreciates knowing and being, the degrees are relevant and significant, even though they're not the end all to be all with knowledge and experience. They have their place. And I felt like I could definitely use some more education. And yeah, that's where you met me.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was exciting to work with you because you were working with a lot of the other stakeholders in the city around some of the funding challenges and program development issues. So it just was a continuum of knowledge that I was able to get from you. And it really informed my work and what I wanted to do next professionally.
Oh, I love that. I
Mhm.
love that so much. I know I was always in admiration of the work that you did, or were doing at that
Mhm.
time. It's
Yeah.
really, really tough work and takes a lot of heart and soul and time, and courage. And then on
Yeah.
top of it, you're a mom and getting your master's degree, and, you have an internship. Hopefully, I made it easy.
But the work, it fed me. It was so fascinating that
Yeah.
there's so many parallels to where I grew up and Baltimore. So if
Mhm,
folks who may be watching don't really know or understand Baltimore, Baltimore is a collection of over 100 neighborhoods.
mhm,
Each neighborhood is very unique and different in its orientation and flavor. And if you grew up in New York City, that's very similar. We have lots of neighborhoods. Each neighborhood has its own culture. So I appreciated going all around the city and taking parent education classes in places that you may not associate with that.
Yeah.
So we might be at Penn North in a drug treatment center working with parents that are in active recovery, trying to rebuild relationship with their children.
Right.
We were in Perkins Homes, the former housing development that unfortunately Freddie
Yeah.
Gray died, was murdered at.
Yeah.
We were there doing parenting classes before they closed that housing development. We were in schools, Montessori schools, schools in one of our more affluent areas in the community. So it was beautiful to work with all different types of people.
Yeah.
I am a people person, I'm an extra introvert, so I get energized by people. Then I have to go run in my little space and hide. But I, I love people, so the work, I was getting fed by the work, and I also was in healing some of the stuff in me. As I learned more about the science of ACEs, I learned more about me. So it was cathartic in a lot of different respects.
I'm sure. Well, we have a few questions that we've been asking all of our guests.
All right.
You mind if we ask
Nope.
away?
I swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth.
Well, some of it's relevant, like maybe, circular to the conversation we've been having already. The first question we've been asking our guests is, what or has there been a mindset shift that you've had along your journey that really that informs the way you're leading today?
Yeah, I think so. When I first started working, I was working in retail and a lot of for-profit businesses. And the emphasis for me was always anticipating needs without being asked, right? If I could know if that customer wanted or that client wanted at that particular time, I can upsell, I can create brand loyalty, I can increase my units. That was always the focus and the orientation. The mind shift started coming in nonprofit work when it was more so of the motto, nothing about us without us. Right. So instead of really trying to focus on what I thought the need of that client or that customer was, the orientation became, how can I stay as close or as adjacent to the client or the needs that I could possibly can, so that I can understand from their perspective, not just the actual needs, but the perceived needs from where they're sitting, not really from where I'm sitting. So I think that was kind of the necessary shift. And it continues to evolve. It continues to evolve, especially the higher you go and the more removed you become from the service participant.
Yeah, that's a really good point, because there becomes this gap as you get higher in positions in your career, and you're an executive director. So
yeah, and it's hard too, because you're often creating a lot of the systems that you're then asking other people to operationalize and other people benefit from. And of course, that it requires some kind of vision, not to say that it is your baby, but essentially it is your design. You are accountable to that particular design. So it does become interesting to see how something that you designed and created has impacts not just on your staff, but on the client, and how you constantly need to create that feedback loop in order to make sure that the thing you design is actually meeting the need that you're trying to target. So it's really interesting work.
yeah, that's where the logic model comes in so handy. I always tell people, I'm like, it gets such a bad name, but I'm like, just try it. I'm like, it's a great tool. I have a logic model template on my website if anybody is curious about what that is or what it can do for you.
Yeah, it keeps you focused. It
Yeah.
keeps you focused, and it really makes you understand what the ingredients are for that successful dish, right? It would be really hard for me without a logic model for me to track what parts of the recipe are really creating that or that output or that outcome
Yeah.
right? What activity are you actually connecting to that outcome? And is that a strong enough connection where you can really prove that correlation? It is super important. And I know it can be intimidating, especially for
Mhm.
younger, more grassroots organizations and do-gooders, but really it's the foundational base. And it really what makes us different from those who are just in the community giving themselves because of altruism, you know?
Yes, yes. Yeah, it helps you really organize what you're doing and make it start to make a case that what you're doing is going to lead to some sort of positive short, medium, and long-term outcome. Um, and when that's not working, you're able to use it then as a tool for evaluation, to make adjustments much easier and much quicker than you would without something documented. Yeah, and I always tell people, like, I know it's very linear. We know things don't happen that way, but it's still a great tool. All right. Our second question is around risk. So,
Mm.
what's a risk you took in your life at some point that changed everything for you?
Wow, a risk that I took. That's a great question. I think probably leaving a system that I was in for so long and really about 2 or 3 years out of a role of a director role that really kind of primed me for this position. Leaving the position and deciding to oversee a smaller nonprofit that was in a period of transition. Um, the nonprofit that I am at now has always been an impactful member of the service community here in Baltimore, but they have recently, probably within the last 3 or 4 years, grown from a 1.5 million to a $4.3 million agency. So as you can imagine, there's a lot of growing pains involved in that. There's a lot of process and system development that has to happen. A lot of change management that's been occurring. So it's really been exciting to be a part of that journey, but it was a risk because I came from a system that was very well established, right? It is relatively easy to appeal to stakeholders about child abuse issues, right? I'm sure no one would argue, if I talk to you about uh, children and the concern about them being harmed, I'm sure 10 out of 10 people would support that and want to open their wallet for that. The nonprofit that I work with does a lot of death and bereavement. And in a culture that runs away from old age, you know, not to mention death, it's a different experience. It's a very
Mhm.
different experience.
What gave you the courage to do that?
Ah,
Scary.
you know what? I think letting my child watch just, it's like the oldest. If you have children, your oldest has both the benefit and the consequence of watching you do it for the first time.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah.
Your firstborn sees you in all of your different seasons. And mine especially has seen all the seasons. And I feel like if he believed in me, if having that conversation with my husband and he believed in me, I was willing to get my feet wet. Right.
I love that you have support. You have a strong tribe close to you. It's so important.
Yes. Small but mighty. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hey, it's in quality, not quantity, right?
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. All right, our last question.
Yeah.
Has there been something you've chosen to unlearn about leadership that you were taught?
Yes. Many
Ooh,
things. Many things.
there.
When when I was starting my leadership career, there was a lot of emphasis for me on accountability and presence, right, and compliance, right. I had to make sure people were in their seat
Mm,
at the point of the hour, and really checking in on that work being done or that data being submitted or those outcomes, where they should be. And I think now at this point, I'm more focused on the relational piece
mm,
because I'm finding that the trust feed loop, the trust feedback loop, I think, is the issue. Oftentimes we hear a lot of supervisors say, I can't find the right people, or the people that I have are just not listening, or they're not doing what I ask, or they're bucking against some kind of policy that I'm creating. And I find that a lot of issues can be resolved with trust, right? I mean, we recognize that this is work and there are certain realities that we contend with around business. But I feel like at the end of the day, if I can be accountable for the authenticity of what I say, even if I don't know where to go, even if the direction is very cloudy, even if the outcomes are not looking like what it's intended, I think people can respect that level of integrity. And I
Mhm.
think the last thing I had to learn was that oftentimes, especially on LinkedIn, you see people kind of claim a leadership style, right? I'm a
Mm,
transformative leader. I am a service leader. I
mhm.
am a fill in the blank leader. And for me, it's not necessarily picking a style, but it's picking the right tool out of the toolbox to get the job done. For me, I am a service leader sometimes. I will step in and serve meals to clients. I will come early to set up for events. I will run to the store for you if we ran out of cups. Sometimes I am in a servant orientation. Sometimes I am demonstrative and I am in an authoritative orientation because that I am bottom lining it. Sometimes I'm collaborative. So I think it just depends on what the particular task or issue at hand calls for, is for me. And that's how I try to coach and guide people as new leaders or students kind of coming to me and kind of having that jack of all trades background and kind of figuring out what to do next.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, I think being an adaptable leader, right, is the most important thing, so that you're able to flex and adapt to the situation in the moment.
Yeah. And I think it allows for accountability, but holding space for the unknown, right? Because if I call myself a transformational leader, and if a project that I do does not transform, what do you tell yourself?
Mhm.
If you're a transformational leader and for some reason, I mean, to be frank, you come into a system and you find that you're not very impactful in it
Right,
and you have to pivot,
right.
you're still a transformational leader, in my opinion, right? So I think it also leaves space and grace to grow and to understand that opportunities for growth are just that. And leaders are not the ones to fix systems,
Mm,
right? They contend with systems, they set tones, they set strategic directions for systems, but systems are impacted by every single entity that is functioning within the said system,
right.
right? So I think sometimes you do yourself a disservice as a leader by placing yourself at the center of this change
Mm,
dynamic and leadership paradigm, right? Because I'm only as good of a leader as the people I have around me, right?
right. And yeah, and
But I
as
know that it's hard for a Eurocentric system that encourages hierarchy and
exactly.
centers the leader at the top of accountability and blame and
Yeah.
yeah, so yeah.
Yep. Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot for people to carry, and that's when we're seeing, like, that burnout, um, and people just, not staying specifically in the social impact sector, the nonprofit community-centric sector, because it's a lot.
Yeah.
But we are at time. I can't believe it. It was
It's
one
been so fun.
It was really
Yeah.
wonderful to have you today. Um, we're booked through the end of the summer for 2026, but I hope that you will join us again.
Oh, yes, we'll have to have an update. Maybe
Exactly.
we'll do like the inaugural class update, like,
Oh, I love that.
when this will be in its third or fourth or 10th year, because I'm speaking it into existence from now. You can mark it on
Yeah.
December 19th. I was the one who knew you way back when.
I love it. I love it. Well, thank you, Matila.
Thank
It's
you.
been beautiful spending some time with you this afternoon. And thank you, everyone, for joining us today. And have a great holiday. We'll see you in the new year. That's when our next Unmuted episode happens.
I
Really
hope you all have a fantastic, peaceful, and happy new year. Take care, everyone. Bye bye.
take care.